And that's what the Chiefs have done to people from a football perspective. People have gone crazy. People have literally, I honest to God, I swear, I think it is the 30 now or 25. The 25 combined years of Brady and Mahomes. It's just killed people. The NFL is supposed to be this league of parity, right? Like everybody's got a shot. Everybody's got a chance. Turns out that's bullshit.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
It's That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. I'm Tucker Franklin. That's Matt Verederame hanging out with you guys here as we are sandwiched in between two Kansas City Chiefs games. We couldn't let you guys go without hearing from us, I guess, on this wonderful podcast. Thank you to our sponsors, Holiday Distillery, Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon, for making this podcast possible. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel like we're running the gauntlet here. Not quite like the players, maybe, but the emotional gauntlet nonetheless. And certainly the gauntlet here is we're trying to get ready for holidays. You're in like Zimbabwe doing this podcast. And I'm where I normally am, but I got people at the house trying to taking care of and wrap. And the NFL was like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Here's 9 games in 7 days. Deal with it. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Yeah, I mean we're all doing the best with what we can with the situations, but we got to bring you the podcast breaking down the Chiefs win over the Texans. A pretty normal game, Matt, really, for all intents and purposes. I'm kind of interested in your thoughts too. We'll get into the game, but I also want to get your thoughts on just kind of the discourse following that game was, I guess, surprising and also unsurprising at the same point when you looked at everything that was going on Twitter, and also everything that's going around on the National Football League. Bills win by 3, but they're the greatest team ever. I don't know if you noticed that, Matt. They won by 3, but they're the greatest team ever, and they almost lost to a 3-win team, and nobody batted an eye. But we'll get to that later. But, Matt, let's start with the Chiefs win over the Texans. First takeaways, first thoughts from that one.
I thought it was, like Andy Reid said, actually, after the game, I thought it might have been the best all-around game they played all year long.
I agree.
It wasn't perfect. They had a couple of 3rd and longs they gave up, and you know they gave up the bomb to Dell. Although I got to be fair, I thought that was a great throw by Stroud. I mean that ball's basically got to be within a yard of the airspace he put it in. He made a great throw. Unfortunately, by the way, Tank Dell's having a great game, gets hurt, and unfortunately, it really hurts. That sucks. But I thought defensively, like they only had 2 sacks, but they were pressuring him throughout the game. They hit him 11 times. It's a big number. They had 9 tackles for loss in the game. They were aggressive. They were downhill. Though they did a pretty decent job of Nico Collins, who is going to get his here. And they had 6 catches for 70 yards. You could probably sign up for that. If they see them in a playoff game and that's his number line, the Chiefs probably win. But I thought offensively, look, they looked like an offense. I mean, it was, the tackles, it was a little bit like, okay, but you knew it was going to be a little shaky. But they held up like reasonably well in the game. Hollywood Brown had an immediate impact, and I thought Mahomes played very well. The only throw he made that I was like, love to have it back, was that one down the sideline to Brown that if he hits him, it's probably a walking touchdown. Right. But they were efficient. They moved the ball. They were good on 3rd down. They almost had 400 yards of offense. They didn't turn the ball over. They got 2 takeaways, another 2 picks. McDuffie now is a machine. Now he got his first one. It felt like the kind of game that if they play that way in the playoffs, they will win. Mm-hmm. And that is something that has not been true of them for a while now. And it was true on Saturday.
One of the biggest takeaways I said this on the postgame show too, was the Chiefs showed the ability on both sides of the ball to put this game away. On the defensive side of the ball, they were able to get the ball back to the offense. The offense didn't give the ball back at the end of the game. I think it was like a 5-minute drive at the end there, kind of close to it. I don't have the play log up next to me, but that was a real big takeaway for me. They ran the ball when they needed to, which has been something we've talked about for seemingly like forever since Andy Reid's been in Kansas City, running the ball when they need to. But they did. They got it done. Kareem Hunt shouldered a little bit more of the load here as coming down the stretch. But look, an overall pretty normal game for the Chiefs. I thought you mentioning Hollywood Brown coming in there and kind of making an immediate impact. His first catches on a 4th down conversion That's obviously huge, but just him being out there seems like that they can run a more cohesive offense. Now, just imagine, Matt, if they get an actual left tackle playing left tackle, like that would be an ideal situation for the Chiefs. And by the way, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, Matt. Wanya Morris looked like a good right tackle. Like he looked pretty good at right tackle.
I really wonder if you're the Chiefs on Wednesday, do you just play him at right tackle? Like, I know Taylor, they didn't practice on Sunday, but they had to put out a bogus practice report, if we practiced, and Taylor was limited. Mm-hmm. Do you just say, hey, Juwan, why don't you take the week, bud? We're going to put Wanya Morris at right tackle. And then it becomes one of those things look, if he gets killed, fine. Then you just put Taylor back in there week 18. But, if he doesn't and he plays well, then is it one of those things where you're like, you know what? You're going to play, man. That's it. I will say this for the Chiefs over the years. They have not cared what your contract is and what your draft selection status is. They will just play whoever they think is going to win them games.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is a game where they kind of feel like, hey, we could put, Taylor on the shelf for a week and play more. Now, my guess is they won't do that, but he did play well. Mm-hmm. And so you wonder if they would consider. You also wonder if they would ever consider moving Taylor to the left side and playing Morris on the right side.
Yeah.
And because originally when they signed Juwan Taylor,
right,
that was what they were going to do. And then they ended up bringing in Donovan Smith, and they flipped Taylor back to the right-hand side, which is where he played his whole career in Jacksonville and everything else. But, you just wonder a little bit here. Now, look, that's a gamble, too, because you put him on the left side, and he's not good, and that might be your season. I understand there might be a lot of hesitancy there. Maybe you try that in Week 18 if Carson Wentz is playing, and you're like, hey, let's see what he does. Of course, Carson Wentz may not be a huge proponent of that thought process. But in any event, look, they won. They played well. Houston is a good team. They're not a great team. I think they're a very good team. They're a good team. And I thought the Chiefs were in control of that football game. I mean, hell, if Hunt doesn't slide down, they win 34-19. So I thought they did what you would have hoped they did, which was win, look good doing it, and now they can move forward.
That was my general takeaway from this game, too. But then scrolling on social media, which maybe is my first problem there, right? Big mistake of me just trying to enjoy my time on the Twitter machine. That doesn't seem like the general sentiment from a lot of people on social media. You look at the play that was ruled an incompletion, and then a roughing the passer also on the same play. It was originally called a fumble. People are saying that the Chiefs were helped out by the officials there. It's the same narratives we've seen over and over. But I think, Matt, for me, when I see people who complain about stuff like that, it just shows me a lack of ball knowledge, right? It's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And they're just telling on themselves in situations like that. I truthfully didn't think that game was egregiously officialed, but I mean, the officiating's not been good this year.
Look, the most egregious play of that game from an officiating standpoint was a Texans touchdown pass.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Where Karlaftis get thrown to the ground as Stroud is rolling out past him. And then Schultz I believe it was McDuffie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just shoves McDuffie and then runs away from him and catches a touchdown pass. Look, I tell Chiefs fans this all the time. Guys, gals, whoever's look, just lean into it at this point.
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah, it's great. Got the officials in the pocket. This is great. Don't have to worry about the outcome. There's no way to truly back up anything. It's well, the Chiefs get all the calls. No, they don't. If you look at the calls, in fact, they actually have gotten some of they have gotten, historically speaking, in the Mahomes era, so the least amount of calls, along with the Saints warranty. There were what call in that Houston game happened that you were like, oh, that helped the Chiefs out? It was egregious. There was a holding call. I think somebody made, but then you get these people who are just fucking morons. I'm sorry, who are just well, that should have been a scoop and score. It's first of all, his arm, the ball went 5 yards forward, man.
Yeah,
it's not a fumble. Second of all, Derek Barnett cracked him in the head. It's roughing the passer. What are we? It's the same thing when the Bengals game happened. And Rashee Rice just got mugged from behind, and people are like, it's not interference. Yes, it is. And it is in every game you've ever watched, and you don't like it because the Chiefs kick your team's ass every time they play them. That's the problem. If the Chiefs were the Titans and got the exact same refereeing this year, nobody would give a shit. Nobody'd care. People care about the Chiefs because they can't beat them. They never beat them. And by the way, people did this with New England too. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I've seen Bills fans on my timeline. Oh, this never happened with New England. Yes, it did. This happened every week with fans with New England. Oh, Brady rules. Brady, he gets all the calls. They're going to call every call. And, you go up to New England and it's not fair. They get all the calls. You know what the truth of it is? They were just better than everybody.
Yeah.
They just won the games. They're better than your team. Your team sucks. Like that was the problem. And it's the same problem. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, they could win every game 42-3. They could have no penalties called on the other teams. And everybody and their mother is going to sit there and go, well, you know what? If this hold was called and that false start was called and this encroachment was called. I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. If I won Powerball, I'd be retired. But, you look at their games. And I'm not saying they never get a favorable call. Like, every team gets favorable calls and every team gets unfavorable calls. But,
Right.
the idea that they're 14-1 and a dynasty because Carl Cheffers just has it in for everybody else. What planet do you live? These are the same people who will sit there and tell you that the earth is flat. Okay? They're the same people who are part of QAnon who are waiting for JFK to walk out from under a bridge in Dallas. He's not walking out from under that bridge. I promise you. Okay? Everything that ends with a gate is not real.
Mm-hmm.
The moon landing, it happened. It's a real thing. You're not going to believe it. It's real. But you live in a world where people just buy every conspiracy theory. They think everything's true because that makes things. It's like those people who stay. What is the old saying? It's like, stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. It's you ever just think shit just happens? Honest to God, how do those people sleep at night?
Right.
What? I think my neighbor's dog is really Satan. That's how Son of Sam happens. All right. That's how people end up going nuts. Yeah. And that's what the Chiefs have done to people from a football perspective. People have gone crazy. People have literally, honest to God, I swear, I think it is the 30 now or 25, the 25 combined years of Brady and Mahomes. It's just killed people.
Mm.
The NFL is supposed to be this league of parity, right? Everybody's got a shot. Everybody's got a chance. Turns out that's bullshit. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have run this league for a quarter of a century. For a quarter of the league's existence, Brady and Mahomes have dominated the league. And people just can't. I mean, if you think about this, I want to make sure I'm right on this off the top of my head. Brady and Mahomes have combined to play in 13 of the last 23 Super Bowls.
Unreal.
They're just constantly in the game.
Yeah.
And they're all in the AFC except for one with Tampa. Mahomes is in the other side of the bracket. Yes. So 13 of the last 23 trips on the AFC side have been those two guys. And I just think you've gotten the point. You got fans, Bills fans. My God, they were in the division with Brady for 20 years. Now they got Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And they're done. They're just done. They can't deal with it anymore. They can't beat them. They can't get past them. And I think that's where we're at now.
I think you made a really good point. People romanticize now that New England dynasty. They're like, oh, they were so perfect. Everyone loved them. Everyone loved the Patriots. No, people hated the Patriots. People could not stand the Patriots. I mean, the way that they were going about winning their games too, you could probably bring up what kind of played into the part of that with all of the, as you mentioned, the gates that they had going into their games. But I do think that it's especially weird with Bills fans where they were in the division with Brady for as many years as they were, and now they're like, well, people actually liked that team. No one liked that team. Everyone hated that team. The Chiefs, I truthfully, I don't think the Chiefs are at that Patriots level yet, but they're pretty damn close. The Patriots level, I think, is higher just because of the legal issues that went on with that team and the cheating scandals and everything. It's in terms of the hate towards that team. But man, the Chiefs are getting real close just because they win football games and beat your favorite team. That's the only way that you can knock the Chiefs is that they win these football games and they just get it done when it matters. And I mean, look, I thought, as you mentioned, as Andy Reid said, like I thought this was their best played game, and that's in week 14 of the season. They're playing their best game of the season. You'll take that. I am pretty sure you'll take that, especially when you don't have your left tackle play.
The other part of the reason that you hear this, especially from teams in the AFC and fans from the AFC that are like on teams that are like the Bills or the Ravens or what, because they know deep down the playoffs are going to lose to them. That's why there's a deep seated fear. And it's just you're just starting to build an excuse in like August. Well, the refs are in their pocket. They're in the bag for them. Oh, look at that call. Oh, just go, never mind that the Bills need a backwards lateral to beat New England. But we need that. Look at this call. Look what happened. And that way, when the Chiefs inevitably beat Buffalo in a playoff game because Sean McDermott runs a fake punt from his own goal line on 4th and 20, that's not the reason. No, that wasn't. There's no way that could be the reason. God knows it's not Josh Allen's fault. He could throw 7 interceptions. It'd never be his fault.
Right.
It'll be everything else. It'll be something out of their control. It'll be forces that are conspiring against Buffalo. As if anybody cares enough about Buffalo to have forces conspiring against them, right? Like, you're Buffalo. I mean, other than 4 straight trips to Super Bowls, all ended in comical disaster. You've basically never been an impactful football team in the NFL. Seriously.
Right.
You sucked in the 70s. You sucked most of the 80s. You were atrocious for 20 years after you went to those 4 Super Bowls. And now you're good, but can never get past Kansas City. So, do you think the NFL is coming up with game plans on how to screw the Bills? I think the Bills have done that pretty well for themselves over the years. The Bills have handled that for them. Okay, whether it's Sean McDermott's wonderful pregame speeches, or it's in-game decisions, or it's 13 seconds, or whatever the hell else you could possibly think of. And I just, at some point, though, I do think that's part of it. These fan bases fear that they're not going to beat these teams anyway. The Chiefs, the Patriots, whoever, right? They're not going to beat them anyway. So it turns into, it's because the official. Oh, look, Chiefs fans did it when they used to play New England. It's the same
100%.
thing.
100%.
I had a million fans say to me after the D Ford penalty, well, that would never happen if it was New England. It's not New England. My reaction, honestly, then and now is the same thing. Then D Ford should have lined up legally. He's lined up like a moron in the neutral zone. And I'll never forget it. I was sitting there watching the Pro Bowl the following week, and he was in the Pro Bowl that year. He did it again in the Pro Bowl. I mean, it's just you think you'd never line up offside again the rest of your life, right?
Right.
You'd see it in your dream. Nope, next week. And I look back that, I say, with that game, that's a call that sometimes doesn't go against you. Sometimes they let it go, right? Went against you. I look back at that Chris Jones roughing the passer. Should not have been called. Hit him in the shoulder.
Right.
You know what? Happens sometimes. They had a million other ways to win that game. They didn't. I never looked at that game and went, well, the coin toss, they got screwed. Stop them. You had 3rd and 10 twice. Couldn't get off the field. The next year, not next year, a couple years later, or 3 years later, Bills lose a game like that. They changed the rules for them.
Yep.
Okay? Change the rules for them after that. So, I don't want to hear that the league's in the pocket of the Chiefs. Give me a break. The Chiefs have had to win playoff games with Chad Henne.
Mm-hmm.
They've won games with Mahomes on one ankle, which I know is another thing. It's a deep fake, right? He's got an AI ankle, apparently.
Right.
But he's just, he's just trotting it out there when need be for the sympathy vote. It's just,
right.
All these people need to touch some grass, maybe put down some other things, and move forward in their lives.
Put down the other grass, touch the grass, and
don't smoke, and move forward.
There we go. I think we talked about this a couple weeks, maybe even last week, Matt, with there's the Chiefs derangement syndrome of just mad. It's just it's maddening to see everyone's losing their shit. Everyone's losing their shit, man, about this team. And what also doesn't help is that they always play on prime time and these special games too, they're about to play on Christmas.
Yeah, they're always in front of everybody
when everyone's watching, and they had a standalone game, so I think a lot of people were nitpicking, obviously, with everything going on. Have another standalone game this week as they play on Christmas. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers, who did lose to the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday as well. This game, if they do win it, Matt, they will clinch the 1 seed in the AFC just by mathematics and other equations. They will be the number 1 seed in the AFC. Thoughts on this matchup here with the Steelers?
I mean, look, I think that the Steelers are a good team. They've lost 2 in a row. They've lost to Philly and Baltimore, both on the road. I think the Steelers are a limited offensive team, and even if George Pickens plays, he's pretty much it. Like, you're not that worried about Calvin Austin and, like, Ben Skoranek and Pat Freiermuth and, like, whoever the hell's running the football, like Najee Harris. Russell Wilson's not going anywhere. He takes a bunch of sacks because he holds the ball. I think the big thing in this game is if Pickens plays, you cannot let him get deep down the field. But that is probably the offense for Pittsburgh in this game, is just take a 3-5 step drop and just let him throw a moon ball 4 times and hope that Pickens comes down with the ball. Now, if the Chiefs don't have Chris Jones, they're going to have to get a little more creative defensively in this game. They might have to blitz a little bit more. I think they can do that because I think there's only one receiver you already got to worry about. And Wilson's not running. It's not like he's taking off. You don't have to worry that if you blitz, he's going to get out the gate. Offensively, I think if you're the Chiefs, the Steelers have been very good against the run this year. They've been suspect against the pass. Their pass rush is good. It's not great, actually. You'd be surprised numbers-wise. It's really not. It's like they have 2 more sacks than the Chiefs this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're not great. And their pressure rate's worse than Kansas City's. So, that said, they have TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Cam Hayward. And you might want to get the ball out and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I would suggest from the Chiefs kind of playing a similar game to the way they played against Houston.
Yeah.
Get the ball out, let guys make plays in space, throw to the backs, put the linebackers in coverage. Patrick Queen is excellent against the run. He is not good against the pass. I would force him to cover. If they are without Joey Porter Jr., who was a DMP on Sunday's, virtual practice, whatever you want to call it, estimated practice, he's got a knee injury. Dante Jackson, their other corner, was limited. I mean, if I'm the Chiefs, I actually would, I'd try to run the ball just to slow the pass rush down a little bit, but I would really, a lot of quick throws. Keep it moving. I think that's the way to play this game if you're the Chiefs. I think it's just keep, the old KISS acronym, right? Like, keep it simple, stupid. I think that is the way to win this game offensively for the Chiefs. Just be efficient, and I think they'll score their points.
Right. I do think that the Chiefs did that really well against the Texans, has gotten that ball out quick. I think that I saw from Next Gen Stats, I read on the post-game show that Mahomes had the ball in like 2.5 seconds. That's the fastest he on average, and that's the fastest on average that he's done it since like week 4 of 2021, right? So that's a good way to kind of like negate some pass rush along with running the ball like right at guys. Like we saw him do it really in the Cleveland game. They did it with Myles Garrett a few times and they just like stopped, but they like ran the ball at Myles Garrett and it like kind of slowed him down a little bit in terms of everything. Look, that Cleveland game was kind of an interesting one, but they beat a 3-win team, so they must be the best team in the world, right? I think that's how the logic goes. Nevertheless, I do think this is an interesting one in terms of what the injuries that the Chiefs do have, right? Like Chris Jones one not practicing in the estimated injury report, which I always think is hilarious, man. I don't know, like it's like we're gonna guess. I mean, I guess it's like what they would do, but we don't really know. I guess like this is what would happen. So like I don't put a whole lot of stock in an estimated injury report, right? Yeah, I'm sure Chris Jones didn't want to practice a day after a game. Like I'm sure that didn't want to happen. Neither with DJ Humphries either with his injury. Juwan Taylor probably. I think he would have been limited is what they listed him as with Juwan. But still, I think those are just so funny. I know they have to do them with like Vegas and everything, like league rules and everything, but it's still so funny. But this game, I go back and forth, Matt, with like, would you rather have to win this game or rather have to win in week 18?
I mean, so you're asking me like, which game do you think they have a better shot of winning?
So I guess matchup wise, right? So like, I guess against the Steelers, do you feel better about trying having a must-win game against the Steelers or a must-win game against the Broncos?
I think I guess if I'm hearing you right, my answer would be I think I'd rather have a must-win against Denver in the sense that I just think I think Pittsburgh's better than Denver. But I think the Chiefs are like significantly better than both these teams.
Right.
And I mean, I think and I know this isn't, I don't think this is quite what you're asking me, but if I'm the Chiefs, man, like I'm going all out to just win this game against Pittsburgh and be done with this.
Yeah.
Like because here's the fear if you're the Chiefs or a Chiefs fan. They lose this game and then the Bengals beat Denver on Saturday. And now all of a sudden, week 18 is for Denver's life.
Yeah,
they've got to win. and NBC flexes that thing into Sunday Night Football, and now it's in prime time in Mile High, and Denver's playing for its life, and you got to win that game. Like, look, even though they're better than them, that's a hard spot, man. That is a tough spot to go into that building in that environment, and they're playing for. I know they're playing for the one seed. I get it. It's not the same as playing for your whole season. It's just not. Like, you can't manufacture that kind of emotion. That would be a very tough spot. And I just think the Steelers team, listen, they're a good team. I get it. They've beaten two good quarterbacks all year. Lamar Jackson, because Justin Tucker can't hit a field goal.
Right.
Okay. And they beat Joe Burrow and gave up 38 points in that game. Like, they're not that good. They're fine. They're a slightly above average football team, in my opinion.
Mm.
You should win the game. You're better than them. Like, go out and beat them. I don't care. Like, if Jones doesn't play, yeah, that obviously hurts, but like, you're still more than good enough. Like, go out and win, handle your business. And then you know what? You got 3.5 weeks. It doesn't matter. You want to play a quarter against Denver? Cool. If you don't, fine. What? Like, it doesn't really, I don't care. I'm not going to get worked up about it. Like, you have all the time in the world then to get rested and get right and self-scout, all this stuff. I just think if you're the Chiefs, you really, I'm not saying, look, if you said to me they lost this game, do you think they'll beat Denver? I mean, yes, I think they're better than Denver, and I think they'd find a way to beat them. You do not want to have to go into that game.
Right.
If Denver is fighting for its life in some winner-take-all scenario, you don't want to have to do that. You don't. Plus, you have the added upside of the hilarity of you might be able to screw the Bengals over and just lay down and watch the Bengals get eliminated because you don't have to win that game. So, I mean, it just gives you more avenues. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm playing very hard in this game. I'm coaching with an elevated game plan. I am trying to win this game and end it.
I think that's a great point when it comes down to just the rest thing. Like, this team is shot, man. Like, you got all kinds of injuries, and honestly, their injury report isn't as long as like you would anticipate it to be for like this late in the season. But like, you see teams like they just played the Texans. The Texans, as you mentioned, good team. They have a long injury report. They've been faced with a ton of injuries. The Lions, another really good team, have had so many injuries. So while the Chiefs have had a lot of injuries this year, they're in a better spot than a lot of other teams are in terms of where their injury reports are in this point in the year. They're actually like getting guys back. The Chiefs are, because their injuries happened so early on in the year. I do think that that's your pitch, right? Like, that's, if you're Andy Reid, your pitch is play hard this week, get this win, and then you don't have to play for 2 more weeks. Like, you can sit really, 3 calendar weeks off, 3.5 calendar weeks off. You don't have to play in an actual football game. I think that's your pitch there, and I think that's a pretty compelling one. Truthfully, if you're Chris Jones, if you're Patrick Mahomes, if you're Jawan Taylor, if you're any of these guys fighting through some stuff, like, all right, grit this one out, get the win. And look, they've got a bad taste in their mouth from last. Oh, I just forgot how to talk there, man. I think I had a stroke mid-sentence.
Things happen.
They have a bad taste in their mouth from last Christmas. And Patrick Mahomes has mentioned that too, being like, yeah, last Christmas, not very fun. Like, that one was not a very fun game.
I know it was not.
It wasn't fun for me, and I wasn't playing in it. So like, that's.
I took a walk that I told my parents was going to be 10 minutes. It was an hour and a half. Okay, I just kept walking. I was walking to another town.
Yeah, I don't bad day. It was not a good day. Hopefully they make Christmas a little bit better. But we're going to take a break here. And on the other side, we're going to talk about other things going on in the National Football League, what the slate looks like this week as well. But stick with us. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Welcome back into that football show here on KC Sports Network. Matt Verederame and Tucker Franklin hanging out with you here. Any big Christmas plans, Matt? Traveling anything? Doing anything crazy?
No, my parents are the ones who went 800 miles this time. So,
God bless.
Yeah, so they're here for Christmas. Be good. We had a big Christmas party on Saturday.
Wow.
I enjoyed it despite the fact that on Friday night came down with a wicked bout of food poisoning. Wasn't good. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. Double cheeseburger went bad. It was not pleasant. I felt like I was dying for about 20 hours, but then the party started, and I was like, all right, I can do this. The downside was I basically ate nothing the entire party. Didn't drink, didn't eat, just kind of hung out. But we had so many leftovers that yesterday I just sat there and ate like an animal during the football. So, I ended up getting food in the end. But yeah, other than that, man, just living the dream. You're on location. How's that treating?
Going good. We're flying home actually on Christmas Eve. So that was a choice by us. We'll see how it goes. Tomorrow morning we have our flight out of here at an old DFW, but on location doing podcasts, making the whole KCSN content machine run as we come back for Christmas. I'll be back home for Christmas and that post game show and everything like that. But we're doing a little bit of traveling here. Look, I'll be back in Dallas in like less than a month too for the East West Shrine Bowl. So,
yeah, that's right.
I'm going to be getting, I don't know if they have reward points for this city, but I should check in to see if they do because I'm going to be here frequently. Also, I mean, look, they got the O-line masterminds here as well that I'll be at. So, I mean, I'm just should get a second house in Dallas probably for as much as I come down here. But no,
I'll be, you'll be feeling like a Texan in no time. All the time you've got.
Getting a cowboy hat.
I've only been to Texas. I'm trying to think. Once, it's to Houston. It's the Super Bowl. But I've got my annual trip to Mobile all booked up, so I'm ready for that. And then got my trip to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, so that would be good. Looking forward to going to New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans, so that'll be fun. And then Combine. So, and then of course during the playoffs, I'll be somewhere every week. So, now I know if the Chiefs are hosting, I know where I'm going. The question is in the wild card round, like, maybe they get that week and to just sit at home. I'm not sure, but maybe I also will go to like Detroit or Minnesota or something. I'm not sure.
The NFC playoff pictures are wildly interesting when you talk about how that one seed is going to be secured. I think Matt Hamilton had a tweet about like if something, I can't remember what the result is, but like week 18 could determine it between the Vikings and the Lions, that one seed, which could be a really interesting game when it comes down to it. But I do think that like with the Eagles losing to the Commanders, I know that Jalen Hurts got a concussion in that game, and they had to have, what was it, Kenny Pickett? Is that their backup?
It was Kenny Pickett. I watched that game, yes.
God bless you for watching that game. I did not watch that game. Man, and the Eagles got out to such a big lead in that game too. For the Commanders just to come back, the Jaden Daniels legacy continues to grow out there in Washington. Look, he's been good for my fantasy team, man. I tell you what, I drafted him as my super flex QB in our dynasty league.
Nice.
The draft is a pretty good pickup by me. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that game was insane. They had 5 turnovers and still won. They had 5 turnovers and scored 36 points. It's impossible.
What?
Yeah. 3 fumbles, 2 picks, and 36 points.
The Chiefs got 6 turnovers last week against the Browns, or 2 weeks ago.
21 points.
And scored 21. So yeah.
The Commanders had 5 turnovers.
Right. Yeah.
36 points. That game. Well, it means for Philly, it basically means you're the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Essentially. And for Washington, it means you're getting in the playoffs. So you need to win one of your last 2 or get a little help, but like they're going to get in. The only real question now in the NFC is like Tampa blew a massive tire against the Cowboys on Sunday night. Like they now need Atlanta to lose a game. Atlanta's schedule is at Washington on Sunday night, and then they play Carolina. Carolina's like suddenly kind of game.
Yeah.
Playing well. That would be the most Atlanta thing in the world, by the way. Like, that's how they blow the division. This was a ridiculous game to the Panthers week 18. But no, now the Bucs need help.
Yep.
Seattle is a game behind the Rams. The Rams are in pretty good shape here. They can beat the Cardinals and get to 10 wins, and then they play Seattle week 18. But I'll tell you one thing, man. I feel like it's just doesn't get talked about. Maybe I'm watching and listening to the wrong people. I don't know. Minnesota is 13-2.
Yeah.
And if Minnesota wins its last 2 games, it's the 1 seed.
Right.
Like, everybody's just talking about Detroit. Like, well, now the Eagles lost. I'm like, if the Vikings beat the Packers at home, which I think they will.
Yeah.
Okay. They then play the Lions, and I don't know if anyone's noticed this. The Lions can't stop anyone.
True.
Like, the Vikings might score 50 points in that game. Okay? Like, there's a world the Vikings absolutely go into Detroit and win that football game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Detroit is the 5 seed. I mean, it's a crazy scenario. Like, the AFC is boring as hell in the playoff picture because it's like, yeah, all right, we pretty much know where these teams are going to be slotted in.
Yeah.
The NFC, the only thing I feel really confident in is the Philly's going to be the 2 seed, and the Packers are probably looking at the 6 seed. I think that we're looking at.
Right.
After that, I don't know. A lot of different scenarios in play.
I think it's really interesting when you talk about Minnesota. Do you think that they would have the same success with J.J. McCarthy?
No, because I don't think J.J. McCarthy is a rookie throwing for 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns.
Fair point.
And look, I was at their camp when McCarthy was healthy. I was there a few days before he got hurt. Like, I thought he looked great. And I'll throw my hand up and say, I thought Darnold looked terrible the day I was there. Like, they were running 7-on-7 drills, and Darnold couldn't get rid of the football.
Oh.
They looked awful. I walked out of there being like, McCarthy's going to start day one. Like, I don't know how the hell. And then I remember talking to some people, and they're like, well, we're going to start Darnold, but McCarthy's going to be pretty soon to follow. And Sam Darnold has now turned into Joe Montana. I don't know how that's happened, but it's happened. And I got to be honest, man. I don't think it's some fluke. Like, they're killing teams. They're good teams. Like this idea that they're just hanging around. They're 13-2. Like, they're pretty good. Okay, I promise you, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I do think I think that's a really good point about Minnesota because I even when I was sitting around with with some family down here and we were watching the Sunday night game, they threw up the standings, right? Yep. I heard somebody say Minnesota's 13-2, and I was like, yeah, I mean they're playing some good ball. They're playing some good ball out there up north. But yeah, the NFC picture is one of those that you want both sides to be right. It always seems like, man, I don't know. I mean, you're more of the historian than I am, but it always seems like one side is kind of cut and dry. The other side is always kind of crazy. Can you remember the last time that we had like two, just like by in week 17, you're just like, I don't really know what's going on. We don't know where these seeds are going to be.
No, I can't. I feel like this time of year, you never know where anybody's going to line up in the playoff picture. It's just chaos.
Yeah.
But in the AFC, it's like, man, I mean, we're like one Chiefs went away from basically just locking it down, not even to play week 18.
Right.
By the way, on a side note, I follow Ben Fawkes, who's the sports betting personality at ESPN. We used to work at ESPN, used to work at VSiN. Tweeted this out. A huge Christmas Day wager from Caesar Sports. A bettor placed a $1.45 million wager on the Chiefs money line. That man is all in.
Yeah. Is that Chiefsaholic?
Man needs his bail money.
He does.
Man's a little short on cash, and he's taking his chance.
He robbed another bank. He's in jail, right? Like, he's not out.
Oh, he's in big jail.
Okay. I want to.
Yeah, no. He's in. We went over this on the last show. He's looking at like 17 years.
That's true. We're on a streak now that we've mentioned Cheeseaholic 2 weeks in a row. Let's see how many weeks we can keep it up.
Oh yeah, he's in big jail. I wonder. By the way, I feel like maybe, and I don't know if I've said this on the show before. I can't imagine I have. I've been thinking about this. I don't know why. I don't know. I have no life. Like, whenever people talk about the pharmaceutical world, they talk about big pharma.
Yeah.
I think it would be great if we just referred to every single industry as big whatever.
It's big, yeah.
No, it's just big TV for you.
Yes.
Like
big network.
It's big haircut. Big haircuts out the gate. Big barber. Like, I think it would be like, I'm just going to start referring to that in like just day-to-day conversations with people.
Yeah.
And just see what the reactions are. Like, I'm gonna bitch about like when I buy a new paddle at pickleball, and then I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I'll tell you what, man, these paddles used to be $150, and big pickleball got involved, and now we're looking at $350. Like, I just want to see if people are like, yeah, and they go with it, or if they push back. But yeah, I feel like so. But this is big jail for Chiefsaholic. But the question then becomes like, who's betting $1.45 million on anybody in any game. Like you're either so rich that it's like it's monopoly money, right? Like it just doesn't matter at all. And it's like me putting down $20.
Yeah.
Or you are like, unfortunately, like somebody who needs massive amounts of Gamblers Anonymous.
You got it. Well, you're right. He's trying to win it back, you know?
Yeah. Like you maybe owe some of the wrong people a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? Fuck it. No better time than now, baby. Like she's looking for that Christmas revenge, not believing in Mr. Unlimited. Like, here we go. Money line. Not just going for it. I don't know. But I mean, man, what amount of money would you have to gamble in a game that you would be legitimately like, oh my God, if I lose this is a catastrophe of a situation?
Oh gosh, it's not a lot amount. It's not a lot. They always say, like, you know, those apps are always like, don't gamble what you would be afraid to lose, right? Like a lot of people
you can't afford to lose.
Right. Like a lot of people in gambling look at the potential winnings. It's like, oh yeah, if I do this parlay, if I add another zero to the end of the
right. And they don't realize if they lose it. Yeah.
Right. If you lose it, you're losing $200. But like, man, I mean, I don't know. Like if I was to put $200 down, like that would probably be not very good for me, truthfully.
Yeah, the immediate number that jumped in my head is $500. Like if I bet, I'd be having a heart attack, mostly because I know like divorce is riding on that bet, right? Like, I'm not seeing the kids no more because I took the Chiefs money line and Mahomes he had to leave early with an aggravation of the ankle.
Holy cow! Imagine that though. Imagine that. Like you have a $500 bet leaving, and that's the game that Patrick Mahomes gets hurt in, and Carson Wentz has to be your savior.
I remember. All right. I'm probably going to screw this up to some degree, but I'm going to be right enough that the story makes sense. So I am not a gambler at all. It's just not my deal. I don't bet. In college, I lived with 5 of the guys in this big dorm room where it was like we had like 3 different bedrooms, a common room, whatever, bathroom. All huge sports fans, all big NFL fans. So one of my buddies was like a fairly compulsive gambler. And it was like, look, I found this bet that we should get on. Like, it's 20-1 that the first score of the game is defensive or special teams. Okay, it's 20-1. So if we lay down $5, we win 100, right? So he's like, every one of us, all 6 of us, let's lay down $5 a week. Who cares? It's $30, right? If we win, like, so like, all right. So 1 week, I can tell you the exact year this was because it was 2008 because Favre was the quarterback for the Jets.
Okay.
And the Chiefs played them at the Meadowlands, and I went to the game. Chiefs were atrocious. Okay.
Yeah.
Chiefs actually almost won the game. But I'm there, and I'm looking at the out-of-town scoreboard, and there's like 3 scores that week that are 2-0. Right? So I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my God, like we're hitting pretty good this week, right?
Yeah.
This is before like I got internet on my phone, also I've got text on my phone. All of a sudden my phone starts blowing up for my buddies. Like, oh my God, like 6 games in the early window were either defensive or special team scores. So we win whatever the hell it was, like $1,200, which is, I mean, in college, you're like, you're rich.
It's a lot, yeah.
Right. So we're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Like we're rich. The company that we were betting with, like, refused to pay it out. And we had to like go to war with them over this and eventually got them to pay it. But they like would not, they're like, well, we're only going to pay it once. We have them once. But no, fuck that. Like it happened in 6 games. We fought him. Finally, I think they were finally like, it's not worth $1,200. Like, fight these assholes to the death.
Yeah.
But we won that. And then the other betting story that I'll share with people is a nice little Merry Christmas parting gift. Actually, same buddies. One of them had a bachelor party in Baltimore for reasons that I still don't understand. He's not from Baltimore. I don't think he's been to Baltimore. Okay. But what
party scene in Baltimore, I hear.
Yeah, huge. Huge. Right down near the marina there.
Right.
So we go to Camden Yards. But before we went to Camden Yards, we went to a casino. And I'm playing blackjack and whatever, like dicking around. I think I won a couple bucks. Well, one of our buddies who we went with, is like the biggest gambler I've ever been around in my life, and like has no reason to be. Like, is like a sixth grade teacher. I mean, God bless him, but like should not be gambling thousands of dollars on games. Okay,
Right. Yeah,
and yet is. So he gets tanked up at the casino
nice.
and decides, you know what? I'm betting the over on the Blue Jays Orioles game that we're going to later tonight. Puts down $1,000. We're like 22 years old. Like, if he loses this money, he's broke. Say,
Yeah.
okay. So we go to this game, and I can't remember for the life of me who the hell's pitching for the Blue Jays, but I'm pretty sure it was like Ubaldo Jimenez for the Orioles. He's terrible. All right. And if I remember right, the over under the line was like 9.5.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're like, all right, we got to, and nobody there is a Blue Jays or an Orioles fan. So we got to root for this asshole to hit the over or he's broke. Yeah. And now, like, as the game's going on, he's so nervous, he's sobering up. But the first inning of the game, the Orioles score like, oh God, I'm trying to think what the score was. They scored 5. They scored. No, I'm sorry. The over-under was 9. It was a flat number. It's a flat number. The Orioles take a 5-3 lead in the second inning, right? Like the Blue Jays hit like a 3-run homer in the first. The Orioles. Yeah. So this clown is celebrating like nobody's business because it's 5-3 Baltimore in the second inning. And we're like, this idiot is going to hit this, and he's going to win whatever it was, like another grand. Uh-huh. And now he's going to feel emboldened to bet even more because he's a dope. The whole rest of the game, nobody scores, right? So we're going and going to 6 to 7 to 8, and nobody's even threatening. Like, it's just 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. We get to the top of the 9th, and the Blue Jays got a guy on second with 2 outs. Nobody's in the ballpark, man. If you could find a video of this game, there's like 1,000 degenerates left. We're right off of third base. My buddy is screaming at Jose Reyes, who's batting for the Blue Jays, pleading with him, pleading with God, like, get a hit, push. Well, Jose Reyes rolls one over and hits a ground ball right at a Gold Glove shortstop, J.J. Hardy.
Yep.
And J.J. Hardy boots it. And it went right through his wickets. And the Blue Jays score and they push. And if you could ever find the footage of the crowd of this game, nobody cares at all because the Blue Jays have made the next out and lost 5-4. There's like 6 of us just wildly celebrating off of third base because this jerk off isn't going to be broke.
Right? He got his money back.
He got his money back. And I remember, like, that convinced me to never gamble.
Yeah.
Like, if you had the under, that's the worst bad beat of all time.
True.
If you had the over, you're so unbelievably lucky, like this idiot friend of mine that you pushed. And it just made me, I'm like, never, ever, as long as I live, will I ever bet a meaningful amount of money watching that clown have to sweat for 3 hours.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had some pretty bad ones. March Madness is usually a pretty tough one. I think it's the Final Four.
That's the only time I ever bet.
Yeah, it's a fun time to do it. I won $80 the first day last year, and then the second day I lost $80. So like that was pretty sick. And then I think this was last year in March Madness. I parlayed like 4 winners from like the final, or 2 winners from the Final Four, I think is what I parlayed them together. And it was when Gonzaga lost on like a half court shot, and I had Gonzaga to like win or something like that. I can't remember how it went, but one game ended on a half court shot, and I can remember watching that game in my bed on my phone, and I was like, I got this parlay. It's hit. And then they hit a half court shot, and I just shut my phone off.
Oh, the only time I've ever won anything like serious in gambling was shout out to Mario Chalmers of Kansas. Because I had a pool going in my dorm hall, 10-story dorm hall. We had a good amount of money in that pot. And it came down to me and my buddy Matt Zeno, and he had Memphis and I had Kansas.
Oh.
And I gave him back his entry fee because I just felt bad for him.
Right.
But, man, that was a nice night. I was going crazy. Mario Chalmers, I always love him for that game.
Mm.
He won me a lot of money that night in college. I was feeling real good. I remember I took my girlfriend to a nice dinner that night. Oh, my God, the next night. It was a beautiful thing. But that's the only time I ever bet. And the funny thing is, it's probably the least informed I ever am.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I don't know what the hell. Chattanooga looks like they could upset somebody. They're like, really? Why? I'm like, no idea.
I don't know. Yeah.
They're clean sheet. Like the look of the team.
Mm-hmm. Plus 300? Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, why not? We'll go with it. Little 10-7 upset.
Yeah.
No clue why.
I mean, yeah, that first day of I think March Madness last year, I kind of got a little too high on the own supply, and then I blew it all the next.
There's nothing worse than when you pick a whole bunch of upsets and then you're sitting there and you're like, "Fuck it, it's a year of chalk. I'm screwed."
Yeah.
Like this is it. And you're 7-9 after day one. It gets over. Half my Final Four is gone. It was like the year, although it was hilarious because it was the year Virginia lost as a 1 seed.
Right. Yeah.
And people were just like, well, I just might as well light my whole bracket on fire. You're like, yep, pretty much. UMBC just said, screw you.
Virginia was supposed to be pretty good that year, too. I think Virginia was they were the one overall.
Yeah, they went 30-2. And not only lost, got killed.
Destroyed.
It's just absolutely plowed out of the building.
Unreal.
Yeah, good time.
And that was the segment called That Basketball Show here on That Football Show. We appreciate everybody listening to the podcast all the way to the end. If you stuck around all the way to the end, we appreciate you guys. We will be back, I think, later on in the week to get to recap this Chiefs game. I'll have to double check the schedule, but we'll be back soon. Eventually, we'll be back with you guys here on That Football Show. So have a Merry Christmas. We'll have the post-game show for you coming up, obviously, after the Chiefs and the Steelers game. 5 things coming up for you on Christmas Eve. So for Matt Verederame, I'm Tucker Franklin. Thank you to Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon Holiday Distillery. Have a Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you guys after the Chiefs game.